A verdict is supposed to come down this week in just a horrifying rape case out of France. And before we get to it, I want to warn you, the details are very disturbing. That is Gisèle Pellicot arriving to court with a round of applause from her supporters. Her now ex-husband is on trial, accused of drugging her with sleeping pills and allowing dozens of men who are also on trial to force themselves on her. The crux of the case is the video evidence, which prosecutors say shows the assaults over the years. Supporters have rallied around Pellicot throughout the trial. This picture is from a women's rights rally outside the court in southern France this past weekend. It says, "Merci, Gisèle," French for thank you. I want to bring in Catherine Porter. She's an international correspondent for the New York Times who's been covering this trial. Catherine, thank you for being here. This trial started in September, and in one of the pieces you wrote about it, you said, quote, "For more than 10 weeks, Gisèle Pellicot has sat in a courtroom in Avignon, France, quietly listening to the explanations of 50 men. She has heard most say they were not guilty." How did we get here?
That's a good question. I mean, the beginning of this case was that her husband of 50 years, Dominique, was caught filming up the skirts of women in a local grocery store. And when police took his phones and his cameras, and they also took a laptop from home, they found evidence of photos of a woman who seemed to be drugged and raped. And they believed that her husband was raping her and inviting other men to come and do the same. So they started a very big investigation, and 2 months later arrested him and shocked her by telling her what they had discovered, because she had no idea whatsoever. In fact, she had suffered some kinds of strange symptoms, mostly blackouts, that she had believed were early signs of Alzheimer's or a brain tumor. The reason that this case has taken on such a huge ampleur, as they say in French, such a huge volume and really shocked the country, is that 50 men have been charged along with her husband in raping her. And she decided at the beginning of the trial to make it public. She wanted, as she said, shame to change sides and France to look rape straight in the eyes. So she opened the courtroom to reporters like me, but also to regular people in France who have been lining up starting around 6 a.m. every day to get into an overflow room to watch the proceedings.
A point of contention in this case is France's rape law, which defines rape as a sex act carried out by, quote, violence, coercion, threat, or surprise. But it makes no mention of consent. How has that impacted the testimony in the case as a whole?
I don't think it's impacted the testimony in the case, even though it doesn't use the word consent. Consent is key in most of the men's defense. They say that they believed that she had consented, and they say that they were lured to the house by her husband, who was promising a playful kind of threesome between the three of them, and that she was pretending to sleep. So a lot of the questioning by the judge is whether they had gotten consent from her, whether they had spoken to her. Consent is always at the heart of these type of trials that are typically he said, she said. The difference, as you said, in this case, is there are thousands, tens of thousands of videos and photos that her husband took and cataloged throughout the almost a decade. So, there is a debate within French feminists about whether they should include the word consent in the law, and this concept of a positive consent that needs to be continual. But I will tell you, there are many feminist lawyers who are pushing back, who believe that the law as it is very good, and that it's not applied as much, and that the focus should always be on the men and their actions and not on the woman and whether or not she had given permission.
All right. Catherine Porter, thank you so much.